Why are we so happy that Daniel Cameron lost the Kentucky governor's race? Don't get me wrong, I understand why he lost. We're gonna go into that, but I wanna know why you're happy he lost. In this video, I'm going to break down why it's so important for us not to get so excited about beating the Daniel Cameron and why we have bigger fish to fry. My name's Tim Black. If you like this content, subscribe to this channel. Some say Cameron lost because of the handling of the Breonna Taylor case. Daniel Cameron's performance with the Breonna Taylor case was horrible.
Cameron alone didn't fail her, but it ended with the lack of investigation failed her. The officer who told a lie to obtain a search warrant failed her. The judge who signed the search warrant failed her. The terrorist who broke down her door failed her. The system as a whole has failed her.
I certainly understand the pain that has been brought about by the tragic loss of Ms. Taylor. I understand that as a Attorney General who is responsible for all 120 counties in terms of being the chief legal officer, the chief law enforcement officer. I understand that. I understand that as a black man.
Daniel Cameron's work was appalling. After he failed to take seriously the case of Breonna Taylor, that led to outcry by the public in the fall of 2020 that was everywhere. We're talking about Louisville protests daily against Daniel Cameron and the handling of the case. Cameron's weak deflections that the jury could have brought a stronger, bolder stance on the case, that didn't work. In fact, jurors came out and said that Daniel Cameron never informed them when he was giving them the instructions that they could issue their own charges against the officers. So basically, Cameron had a dereliction of duty. In fact, other jurors said that they were in an uproar when they found out that there were no charges against the officers. They could not believe that was the result of their time on that jury, which set the table for what happened later with Daniel Cameron. And then we have the Department of Justice coming through about 2 years later to do a pattern and practices investigation. And they determined what most people already knew, that there was rank discrimination, the way they conducted their search warrants, the way they did their stops and searches and seizures, the way that they conducted police work throughout Louisville was highly problematic and highly discriminatory to black folks. The racial bias was off the charts, the unprofessionalism, the unethical practices, the brutality, the lack of following procedure or proper procedure. Because there's proper procedure, and then there's what the Louisville Police Department was doing. Black drivers, 5 times more likely to be cited for tinted windows, 4 times more likely to be cited for bad tags. Black drivers, 50% more likely to be searched when pulled over than their white counterparts. And if you never search white guys for drugs, you never find drugs because you never look. It's so, and I'm not holding Cameron responsible for that because Daniel Cameron did not create Louisville Police Department. But what I'm saying is there was a lot that could have been investigated. This is how bad the police department was, and probably still is in Louisville. And I'm not saying it's just Louisville. You look for smoke, you'll find fire. Where there's fire, there's smoke. And vice versa. The Louisville Police Department charges black people 4 times more likely than white people for loitering, 5 times more likely for littering, and 2.5 times more likely for disorderly conduct. Now, these are all up to the officer if they want to hand out a citation. And that's what I'm telling you. So there's a bias. There it is. But once again, that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about, because Daniel Cameron's not responsible for what every police officer does in the police force, nor is he responsible for the culture of the Louisville Police Department. And I'm glad that black people came together and decided this is not the guy they want to be the governor of Kentucky. And I think they made the right decision. My problem is this. Everyone from around the country came together to stop Daniel Cameron because they did not like what he did as Attorney General. What I'm saying is, all the black voters that came together, they need to be informed that there have been black attorney generals, such as Kamala Harris, who have done far more damage to the black community than Daniel Cameron, and people gave her a pass. Not only was she given a pass, she was promoted to Senate. Not only was she promoted to Senate, she was elevated as vice president and is a sitting vice president. And she was more detrimental as Attorney General than Daniel Cameron was. There have been channels and networks and supporters and those in the media who have given Kamala Harris a pat on the back and gave her much love when she was a much worse Attorney General. She did far more reaching things, such as with the firemen. Do you not know that when Kamala Harris was the Attorney General, she decided to keep prisoners in jail longer so she can use them as free labor to fight fires in California instead of letting them go or go on probation? She used prison labor, slave labor, to fight fires and put their lives at risk, knowing they got no other options. They're in jail. And that's just like one of the things she did. She did several other things. What was it? The lab was found to be horrifically managed, that people were being sentenced on bogus evidence that was tampered and compromised, and she knew it. So these are all allegations that came out during her time as Attorney General and then when she ran for Senate. But most people don't even know about it. My thing is this. Until the black community is informed about Democrats, black Democratic politicians, the same way they are informed about Republican black politicians, what do we have? This false idea that the Democratic Party does so good by the black folks. It's garbage. And if we're going to advance, we got to be able to recognize that we don't have a party. No, we don't have a party. Neither do white folks, but neither do we. We black people do not have a party. Rich people have a party. They have two. Well, it's one split in half. But, okay. But no poor people have a party, and no black people have a party. We do not have a party. Stop saying that you do when you do not. Because the case of Daniel Cameron and the case of Kamala Harris prove one thing. It's okay if you have an attorney general that does wrong by the black community, as long as that attorney general is a Democrat. Daniel Cameron did wrong by the black community. He was that elevated. He didn't lose his job, but he was not elevated to governor. Kamala Harris did wrong by the black community on a far more reaching scale, and what happened to her? Nothing. She gets promoted and elevated, and people don't talk about it because they want opportunities. And I'm not talking about people that are in politics. I'm talking about those people that won't talk about it in media. And I'm not just saying the larger scale, not just in white media, white corporate media. I'm talking about in black media, black so-called independent media. To me, that's the problem. So this is not about Daniel Cameron. I'm glad Daniel Cameron lost. That's very good. Celebrate good times. But until we're able to scrutinize Republicans and Democrats, see what's best for us and move accordingly, until we're able to have a media that tells us the truth about black politicians, whether they be Republicans or Democrats, what do we really have? This false security that black folks have with the Democratic Party makes them vulnerable to being misused and abused by the Democratic Party. Get it? So as they clap, take a victory lap for the loss of Tim Scott, which I'm glad he lost as well, with the loss of Daniel Cameron, I'm glad he lost as well. Let's not forget, we have horrible politicians on both sides of the ball here. And when it comes to who's really running plays to give us the win as black Americans, not many. Not many teams, not many players, and not many plays are run for us to win the trophy. You get what I'm saying? So we got to call this out. We must call it out. We have to demand more for our vote and more for our support. And we need to wield our power, not just with Republicans, but with Democrats. Because I'm pretty sure Cameron wasn't expecting a lot of Democrats to vote for him anyway. He's a conservative. But what busted him up was the lack of white support, probably. They didn't come in and mitigate. And what also bringing in the focus on Cameron ignited black voters to actually come out and vote against him. And he didn't have the numbers to offset the frustration and the I guess I would say the vengeance of voters who were so repulsed by his actions with Breonna Taylor. They decided, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna vote against this guy. And that's how he lost. But until you're willing to do that with Democrats, who also give you all the fodder, all the ammunition, all the reason to do the same, we won't fix anything. And we have limited power. So there you go. That makes sense? Shutting down Daniel Cameron, that's a good thing. It's also easy. Let me see what y'all do when it's time to shut down Kamala Harris or Cory Booker or Barack Obama or Jim Clyburn. Feel me?
If you've gotten this far, go one step further and click the subscribe button to get updated on all our latest content. The Tim Black Show is the #1 Black political independent media channel in the country. Join us today at jointimblack.com. And remember, it's a new day.